Hi, I'm Mike of Mike's Road Trip. And on this episode, I share with you what it's like to do an RV rental road trip. Brought to you by Untitled Travel. I'll go over renting the right RV, along with some operational tips, where to camp, as well as some of the best road trip destinations in the Southwest.
Get off the road!
All right. Let's start off with where to rent an RV. Now today there are a slew of options. From RV Share and Outdoorsy, both are peer-to-peer networks similar to Airbnb. Then we have El Monte, which has a large selection to suit almost any need. For the minimalist, there is Escape Camper Vans or Juicy. For those looking for luxury, there is Lux RV, and probably the most well-known with over 100 locations across the US is Cruise America, which is who we went with earlier this year on a road trip around the Southwest. Depending on your location and RV rental road trip plans, there is likely a smaller regional RV rental company available to you. And some have carved out niches for adventure RVing, like the folks from A-Lodge Vans out of Boulder, Colorado, which offers the Swiss Army knife of adventure camper vans. When researching your RV rental options, the first thing you want to decide is what type of RV you want. Class A is the largest and most luxurious. Class B is much smaller and built on a van chassis. Class C is probably the most popular RV rental style with a cab or cutaway chassis. Then you have the travel trailer, which would require a vehicle to tow it with. After you've selected the size and style of RV that will best suit your needs, be sure to ask the following questions. First, what is the daily rate and are there discounts for weekly? Second, what is the mileage allotment? And are there any overage costs or other fees? Next, we have insurance. Your auto policy or credit card may provide some liability and or collision coverage, while some rental companies may also offer coverage. And speaking of insurance, you may also want to consider travel insurance with Allianz Travel to cover prepaid expenses such as rental fees, camping reservations, and more in case something happens during your road trip. And be sure to find out what's included. Most RV rentals don't include the necessities like bedding and kitchen utensils. Some rental companies offer this as an optional rental item, but it can get expensive. So click the link above or below in the description box for an RV packing list. I'm now going to share some RV rental operational tips. This is based on a Class C RV from Cruise America, so bear in mind that these tips may vary on the size and type of RV that you end up renting. The checkout process is pretty straightforward, similar to renting a car, with the exception of a tour and explanation of how to operate the unit, which is quite easy. Cruise America has made RVing very simple for the newbie. So I'll talk a little bit about capacities. So for example, mileage. I think we have averaged over 5 tankfuls around 9.7 miles to a gallon. Now this may depend upon how much you are running the generator. And then also regarding boondocking, you can easily boondock with 2 people for 3 days and have plenty of water, plenty of storage for gray water and black water. What we've been doing is going to a campground like KOA every 3 or 4 days to dump waste and also fill up the tanks. Now with regards to the propane, which operates the refrigerator, freezer, the stove, and the hot water, we have gone a little over 2 weeks and still have propane left over to spare. So that's really impressive because we definitely took a hot shower every day. We used the stove every day, and obviously the refrigerator and freezer ran 24/7. I should also mention that the capacities I've just shared are with their standard size RV. Obviously these will vary from their smaller or their larger versions. The most miles we drove on a tank was, I think, 422 miles. I think you could possibly squeak out 475, maybe 500 miles if you really pushed it, but I would say keeping it around 400 miles is a good number. Don't push it much more than that. Also, I don't know this for sure, but I think it's about a 50-gallon tank of fuel. There is a 3-burner stove and a good-sized refrigerator and freezer. Both work really well, but one tip is to make sure that you hear the doors click to ensure they don't fly open while driving. Speaking of which, be sure to go through the RV and make sure that everything is battened down before driving. You'll find plenty of storage both inside the unit as well as down below in the rear of the RV. The mattress is not the highest quality, and because it's lined with vinyl, you may tend to sweat at night, so bring an extra blanket to create a barrier between the sheets. There is plenty of lighting on board, just make sure to shut them off when not in use or connected to shore power. The lights are one of the only things that actually run off the batteries. There are also plenty of outlets with USB charging integrated, but unfortunately the outlets don't work unless you're plugged into shore power or the generator is running. They don't even work if the vehicle is on, which is a real shame when you're driving for hours and can't charge anything. Be sure to use this fan when you're cooking, otherwise you'll set off the smoke detector. There's a microwave and convection oven, so you can bake things or quickly heat them up. There's an air conditioning unit. We haven't had to use it on this trip, so I can't talk about it. We've actually used the heat a lot, which comes out of here. Something else not to forget, when you are hooked up to power and then you go to leave, don't forget to hook this up. If there are only 2 of you and you don't need this area up here for sleeping, it makes for great storage. If you need extra sleeping accommodations, this area folds up into a bed. Highly recommend bringing or picking up a small broom and dustpan. The space between the door and the cab is fairly narrow when opening, so take care not to bang your knee or shin. When wanting to take a shower, be sure to give the water heater about 10 minutes to warm up before jumping in. If you're boondocking, be sure to use the water sparingly. The control panel shows you the various levels. For example, the first button shows the title LPG, which is your propane level. The next one is the battery. And the third one is the fresh water. The next one to that is black water or sewer. And the last one is gray water, which is the water from the sinks in the shower. At a campground, hooking up or unhooking is quite easy. Just a few things to do, such as hooking up the water and power. And some campgrounds have the sewer at your spot. Others have a station near the exit. To empty the tanks, all you have to do is take the large black hose from its storage area and hook it up. You want to make sure that you pull the black handle first, which is the black water or toilet water. Next is to clean out the hose by pulling the gray handle, which is the water from the sinks and shower. Make sure the valves are closed and the hoses are stored and you're on your way. While the Cruise America RV rental units lack the luxury of some other rental companies, they are fantastic for first-timers as they are designed with simplicity in mind. If you've never been RVing before, this is the perfect time to do it, as most couples and families are looking for vacation options closer to home. Where should you camp or park your RV for the night? There are a few options, from boondocking, primitive camping, to full hookup RV parks such as a KOA or Good Sam. Boondocking is my personal favorite, which allows you to really be one with nature and not have to contend with others. You should, however, carefully consider the size and capability of your RV. You don't want to get yourself stuck or stranded. In the western part of the country, there's no shortage of BLM or national forest land in which you can camp for free. Depending on your RV capacities and group size and resource usage, you may be able to boondock for say 3 to 5 days. The other benefit of boondocking is that there are no reservations required. But you do need to be patient, as it can take some time to find a suitable place to park. Then there is primitive camping, which is often in a designated area in a park or a popular forest, but without hookups, and the cost can be free to maybe $15 to $25 a night. Then there is the full hookup RV park or resort, and these campgrounds will have water, electricity, and sewer, and often have a washer and dryer, swimming pool, or other amenities. Now these places can be around $50 to $100 a night depending on the RV size and amenities offered. It's nice to stay in an RV resort every so often to empty the tanks and top off supplies. Now that you're informed on many of the things regarding renting an RV, let me share with you some of my favorite places in the Southwest, which is one of the most popular regions in the country for RVing. Well, that's it from this RV rental road trip tips video. I'd like to thank Allianz Travel for making this video possible. If you have any questions, leave a comment below, and thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we'll see you on the road.
BikeRoadTrip.com